Alright, let's get started then. There. Official. It's so official. Welcome everybody to our Toastmasters meeting. Fellow members, invisible guests that will be here in the future in another week, and viewers at home. Today we are meeting right here in a special location. Normally we meet in the Hy-Vee Club Room of Fairfield, Iowa, nearby the ice cream and all the good frozen desserts in the club room. Welcome everybody. Let's get the meeting started quick. Let's first introduce our Toastmaster, Mr. Jeff Shipley. Warm welcome.
All right, fellow Toastmasters, I'm your Toastmaster this evening. My primary job is to get this meeting back on schedule, but I do want to acknowledge all the hard work and just the gratitude for getting this room together and having a meeting here. So we're really happy everyone came out. All right, who's our timer this evening? All right, Peter Armstrong will be timing the meeting. So Peter, can you briefly tell us what your role is tonight?
In the interest of keeping it short, for the scheduled speakers, you will have your first light at the 5-minute mark, unless you're anybody doing an icebreaker? No. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and 7 minutes. Green, yellow, and red. You have 30 seconds before and 30 seconds after the red light to finish.
Thank you, Peter.
I will deliver a report later.
Looking forward to that. All right, our grammarian for this evening. Did you write that on the board? Oh.
Will.
We'll write that. Oh, okay. Being clever. Do you want to be? Am I still grammarian?
I was helping you out there.
Okay. Well, I also ferment's a really good word of the day. I actually think that is foment. I don't know.
I do too.
But it's just popular usage. The most important part of language is that people understand it. I'm not so much of a grammarian as much as I am a rhetorician. So I'm really looking for powerful uses of language and creative uses of language that connect with people, where you can stare in someone's eyes and use your words to go right into their heart. Like that's what I want to highlight at the end of the meeting. And my word of the day, in addition to ferment, foment, I liked sincerity.
Ooh.
Okay.
So I'll be keeping track of uses of that. And hopefully through our creative expression we can foment a greater authentic, sincerity, expressions of sincerity within ourselves and eat fermented foods.
Right.
Moving on, our Jean?
What's the definition of foment?
Incite or stir up trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you're going to foment
Fomenter.
revolt.
Rebel.
That's true.
Or, yeah. And our odd counter this evening is...
I'm the all counter. Or ooh and
Correct.
It's the whole vocabulary.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
Thank you, D.
Yeah.
You're D, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Last time.
And you give a report at the end.
Yeah, give a report.
Fantastic. Our general evaluator is Veda Royale. We'll be hearing from him later. Greeter Armstrong, Greeter Joke Master. Peter's got a joke for us later this evening. We always enjoy that. And then Emery will be counting the ballots and calculating our winners at the end of the meeting. All right, moving right along into table topics. Let's have a big round of applause for our table topics master, Emery Styron.
Flip it up.
All right, our meeting nights, good evening, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. Our meeting theme tonight is Love is in the Air. There's a holiday tomorrow. If you happen to have gone to Walmart and seen the chaos and fermentation at the Valentine card racks and candy aisle, as I did. So our table topics will deal with some quotes about love and that special holiday. So how many do you think we have time for? Maybe 3? Okay. Who's my first victim? Let me rephrase that. Who would like to be my first volunteer?
Do we get to pick one?
Well,
Do we get to pick one?
I pick it according to my assessment of the personality. That profound philosopher Charles M. Schultz said, all you need is love, but a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt. Could you respond to that, Will? Thank you.
Well, she didn't write it, but certainly my wife embraces that philosophy. And I actually, if I think about it, I think there's a lot to be said for that as well. Love's a beautiful thing. It's transformative. It is, it transcends sort of physical dimensions, time, space. And it's beautiful in so many ways. But sometimes, when it comes right down to it, it's not about the feeling, it's not about the emotional, chemical state. It's about the action. It's about going out, getting chocolate or whatever, and either bringing it for somebody else to enjoy or enjoying it yourself.
That's true.
And in some ways, it could be chocolate, it could be that very special cup of espresso in the morning that you have that's just perfect. Or, I don't know, it could be flowers, could be a particular plant that you nurtured from a very young age that's now engulfed an entire wall of your house. These small physical actions transform us and actually empower and enliven our expression of love. Love can be unconditional, but sometimes in the condition of love and in the expression of love, in the physical acquisition of items of love, we kind of most express our love for one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Next,
Can speak, I'll speak.
we would like to have some gender balance here.
At least you, Brenda.
I have a speech, that's Jean.
Oh, well, you've got a speech tonight, and Jean's evaluating, but come on up, Jean.
No, I can try self-critique.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Open the door. You think we could open the door
Yeah, I
just a
think so.
little
It's
bit of
stuffy.
air here?
You're usually freezing, Jean,
I
but
know,
not
I
tonight.
know. I mean, it's just a gavel of extremes.
Okay, we have some other great philosophers who have said memorable things.
Let's do.
Lucille Ball said,
Oh, good.
love yourself first and everything falls into line. Agree, disagree? What do you think, Jean?
Fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home, I do agree with that. It really does start from where you are, loving who you are here, and then becoming an outpouring to everyone else. You got to fill your own cup first, and then it goes out and fills others. I think that's a great comment. It's an insightful one. I actually want to flip it over into some humor too, because I love loving myself. I love treating myself to something that I want, or just music that I want to hear, because I am my own best friend. And so I love being my own best friend and loving myself. And I think that it's a little bit humorous. It's a little bit like me first and then everybody else comes along. But it's almost like capitalism, enlightened capitalism in some way, where everyone pursues their own happiness, and together that all turns into a system that works and delivers happiness. I'm not going to get into a capitalistic conversation here, but there's something similar to that. I have heard people say, oh, people are selfish. They need to think about others. They always need to be thinking about others. And they don't. They think about themselves. Well, I take issue with that, because I do think you need to think of yourself first. Take care of yourself first. Ultimately, love yourself first. And then that easily flows into taking care of others. There's a reason on the airlines where they say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then work with your child. They don't say, be suffocating while you try to get the mask on your child. No, you need to do it for yourself. So I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Love yourself, and then everything else falls into line.
Thank you, Jean. And one more. Veda?
Do it.
Go ahead.
Do it.
Do you read the comics in the newspapers, man?
Yes.
Okay, there's one called Family Circus.
Ooh.
I happen to like by Bill Keane. And he said they invented hugs to let people you know you love them without saying anything. What do you think about that? Need to hear it again? Okay, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, members of the audience, guests at home. With all sincerity, I think that's a great quote. And I never thought about hugs as deeply as I am at this very moment. And I'm trying to figure out how not to foment some trouble with today's atmosphere of sexual harassment and Me Too environment, where the slightest affection could be misconstrued. But I think that some of these people are complaining about more than the slightest affection, so I think it has to go on a case-by-case basis. If you think about the Family Circus, it's a time-honored cartoon that goes back generations. In fact, the child is now the grandfather of the family, probably by now. You kind of wonder how the same cartoon can be written for 45 or 50 years and the kid's still, I guess that's a wonderful thing. Back from the time in the 1960s when people had families and we could afford to feed 6 children on a budget where only the father worked. Those were great times. I'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Ray. Mr. Timer, can you tell us which of our speakers qualified?
All of the speakers, Mr. Table Topic Master, all of the speakers have qualified with flying colors.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. So let us now vote for the best table topic speaker. We had. Could you name them for me? My mind's gone
Will,
blank.
Jean, and Veda.
Will, Jean, and Veda. Right. Okay.
Okay. Our first table topics speaker was Will, and he got the great question about the one that ends with chocolate doesn't hurt. Love is everything and chocolate doesn't hurt. Knowing Will loves food, I thought, wow, what a great question for Will. He had an excellent opening, so he really just took it and he said, I talked about his wife. She didn't write it, but she certainly embodies it. And it just was a very powerful, solid opening statement. And then he went on to give us some examples. His approach was, it's the small physical actions that create the love experience. And so he talked about, espresso in the morning and, chocolate and there was something, I think there was something, flowers, shampoo selections. We've heard about that in the past, someone who picks your shampoo for you. But anyway, it's those little things. And then he wrapped it up. He said, using those little actions is how we can express our love. And so he tied it back in. It was boom, boom, boom. It was really, really good. He also had excellent pacing, I felt. No pause, with pauses. I'm a fan of pauses as long as they don't slip into filler words, and he didn't have filler words, so it just had weight to it. I liked it. The suggestion that he gave me that I could give to him for how to improve was he felt that he could have actually taken a little more time at the front. We have up to 30 seconds to think and organize. And he thought he might have actually even done better with taking a few more seconds. And that is optional. It's no one's requiring you to take 30 seconds. But I thank you for that feedback. Veda gave, so I skipped myself. It's too much to figure out.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
You got plenty of time, Jean.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah. So, Veda had the question about hugs conveying love without saying anything. What a great question. He really turned it into, he had a topical reference. He could have fomented some controversy here. I felt us leaning towards the brink on that. But after the idea fermented a little bit, he decided that it was not something he was going to continue. And we got back on track with that. And then he talked about the cartoon and some little points about babies that never grow old, which cartoonists, that's certainly their prerogative. I would suggest for Veda, he had interesting little bits, but in terms of addressing the question for the hugs really in a way, I think he just kind of started to do a flow of conscious thought, something like that, flow of consciousness, and he didn't really tone it in. So I would just say next time, stick in there with the hugs, build out your body, and bring it back to, even though it may not be appropriate, I wish we could do more hugs to convey love without speaking.
Thanks, Jean. You're really impressive up here. I was tempted to offer you a hug, but thought better of it.
Oh, later.
All right, so really appreciate excellent table topics questions. They were able to probe sincerity and again sincere responses from all our participants, so that was fantastic. Now moving right along to the next main course of our meeting, our prepared speeches. So our first speaker, I will invite up her evaluator and we can hear all about it. Big welcome, Fraser Jones, evaluating Miranda Goffin.
Hello, Toastmasters. Miranda will be speaking from Competent Communicator, project number 4. Her topic for tonight will be Admirable Silence. Miranda Gothard is a published author with 30 books on Amazon and a professional blogger. Project 4, How to Say It. The objectives are: select the right words and sentence structure to communicate your ideas clearly, accurately, and vividly. Use rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas. Eliminate jargon and unnecessary words. Use correct grammar. And it will be 5 to 7 minutes.
Admirable silence. Let me start off with an example, ladies and gentlemen of Toastmasters. Have you ever noticed some group of people, maybe 2 individuals, and they're in an argument? One of them is really just usually verbally, wailing away on the other person. You person of, and you see this and you're like, wow, they're really not treating them very nicely. And then you see the other person who's just like taking the brunt of the verbal aggression. They're like, oh, you're right, I'm not. But as the third party steps back and goes, this person is aggressive and this person is silent, who do you really admire in that situation? The one who is able to express anger or the one who is able to receive the anger? My speech tonight is about something we do to children, and that is we tell them, you can grow up and be anything you want. You can grow up and do anything in the world. Okay? Really? Really? When I was 20, I decided I wanted to grow up and be the second coming of Christ. Now, it's not illegal. Frowned upon. Highly frowned upon. Really? Because there's whole worldwide organizations dedicated to believing Jesus will come back. This is an uncomfortable subject for all of us, but let me make it lighthearted. Because when one person tells someone, no, I believe in this, and this is what I believe in, well, that's fine. I'm not here to make anyone believe in me. I'm not here for anyone to go, oh, Miranda. Oh, no, I want admirable silence. I want to prove things that are thousands of years old without having to prove it at all in anyone's face. I want to prove that a book that people have lived and died for millennia is real without ever having to go up and be like, look, I told you, I showed you, you felt it in the room, you felt it in the energy coming out of me, you saw miracles happen over the course of your lifetime. I don't want anyone ever to go, good job, Miranda. Like, I don't want that. Why? Because that's not what the book says. If anyone even begins to worship this physical vessel, then I've done it wrong. Because then that's crazy weirdo stuff. But that's what Toastmasters is for, is to give crazy weirdo speeches. No. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been struggling with some personal issues and a psychiatric development. And so forgive me for giving an unprofessional speech tonight. But it's true, and it's near, and it's dear to me. I spend every waking moment of my life trying to contribute to humanity, to say, look, I don't care if you're Baha'i, I don't care if you believe in a sect of religion that have 5 people in the world believing in it. Can we stop hurting each other over it all? Our children do not need to grow up in a world where this is the only truth. If this truth can kill someone, is it the truth? I want to live in a world where we eradicate death, where we grow new teeth, where we grow new organs, where it's not just about how beautiful you are or how smart or how rich you are. It's about how good you are to another person. How much does your life enrich another person? How much can people look at you and admire you silently without giving you the glory of what you've done? That seems Jesus-y to me. Or right? Right? Because if the whole world is waiting for someone to come back and die in front of them and then say, look, death isn't real anymore, well, okay, then let's wake Disney up out of a cryogenic freeze. Like, that's good enough for me. Like, we don't have to take something that is a spiritual validity to many people. It's a spiritual truth. It is. It is, but it doesn't have to be the physical truth. It can be spiritual, it can be emotional. I don't want people to get hurt over what is real to someone else. And I don't want someone to ever come up to me and say, you can't be the second coming of Christ. It's not allowed. Really? No, it is. It is allowed. It is allowed. The book says someone is coming back. It's called The Root of David and the Bright and Morning Star. I'm sorry I'm a woman. I'm sorry I'm a white woman. I'm sorry black Jesus came back as white woman. Like, this is a very, very intense subject, and I appreciate you all for allowing me to give this speech. Because at the end of the day, I don't feel safe saying these things in church. I don't feel safe saying these things to my family. Would anyone like to look at how many psychiatric institutes I've given my life to believing that anyone can take on a walk-in, can take on a spiritual heavenly ghost figure into their body and receive the cosmic knowledge that is just floating around? I mean, if we can hear radio signals bouncing off satellites light years away, why can't we hear the teachings of cosmic bodies that passed by 2,000 years ago, that passed by 4,000 years ago when we had a Buddha, that passed by 6,000 years? So often these star patterns repeat, and a spiritual entity comes into a human body and goes, hey, you want a new idea? Hey, you want to try something different? Do you want a fresh perspective on something that is so old that if I give it to you now, it'll carry us through a whole new generation? Do you want that? Because I don't want to walk around and door to door like, hi, I think I'm the second coming of Christ. Is that cool with you? Because I don't really want to tell anyone ever. Like, ever. I have had a child taken away from me at birth, 1 hour old. 1 hour, I delivered my son at home, and because I have a psychiatric illness, which is believing you're Jesus. No, I believe I'm Miranda. I believe that the second coming of Christ is an entity that can fill our body. But because of a belief system, there have been physical ramifications in my life. You can't walk around and feel a Holy Spirit inside you and not expect yourself to act a little weird from time to time. You can't. You can't. Holy Spirit versus alcohol spirits. Weird example, I'll sideway for this. You have the Holy Spirit and it fills you. Some people roll on the floor and speak tongues. Some people commit heinous crimes because a spirit fills them and they go, this is what I believe, this is what I'll do anything for this spirit, I feel it, it's real inside me. Okay? What's the reverse of that? Spirits. You have alcohol. You have spirits where people are acting a fool and you're not allowed to act like that. Well, it's a heavy balance, day in and day out, to know a validity of a spiritual truth, of an emotional truth, and to have no physical proof to say that this is real to me. Well, the point of my speech is admirable silence. I don't want anyone to go, good job. I just want you to know that deep down, friends, this is the truth of my life. This is what I believe. This is how I live my life every single day. And I have since I was 20 years old. That's a decade of my life I've given to believe in what some people considered a hotel bedside book. What some people believe as the sacred word of God, and what some people believe as another text. Thank you, Toastmasters, because if I can't give a speech thinking I'm the Eucharist at a toast club, there's no reason to make bread jokes at all. Thank you. Hashtag awkward, thank you.
No O's, no O's.
Wow, what a sincere display. Thanks, Miranda. That was incredible. I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot from the grammarian later. All right, let's introduce our next speaker. Oh, we have 2 minutes to reflect and ponder and write about what we just saw.
Evaluate.
So I'm just.
Welcome back. All right, our next speaker is, I'm sure, going to take us to the other side of the universe and back and make us question profound truths about ourselves and the world we live in, judging by the tone of this meeting. So we're going to welcome Will Burns, who's going to introduce our next speaker, Hy-Vee Club. Close enough.
Thank you, Jeff. Fellow Toastmasters, guests who are probably over at Hy-Vee right now, and viewers at home. I've been looking forward to this speech for quite a while. If it's a speech I think it is. Hy-Vee is doing Project 8. Get comfortable with visual aids. His objectives are to select visual aids that are appropriate for your audience and your message, and to use those visual aids with ease and confidence. Hy-Vee is a software engineer at Maharishi University of Management and the father of 2 sons. He spends his spare time self-learning, and recently he was studying genealogy, but his passion has always been calligraphy, which coincidentally is the title of his speech tonight. Please join me in warmly welcoming Hy-Vee Swatnari.
Fellow Toastmasters, our guests, our viewers at home. For each nation, there is an art, even if it's a painting, drawing, or sports, or maybe like kung fu, or maybe building in such way. I have talked about the poetry, art for the old Arab people before the Islam, and after the 7th century, they started developing a new art that exists for many nations, but they have developed this art in a different way. First thing, the reason of focusing on calligraphy for Muslims is because two reasons. The first one is drawing or painting souls is prohibited. Means you cannot draw a man, women, an animal. You can draw trees or buildings, etc. The second thing is this art is related to the holy book. Means these people develop this art because they want to rewrite or writing their book in a good design. First known calligrapher was Ibn Muqla. He was a minister of Abbasi Caliphate during the 7th century, or the end of the 7th century. This calligrapher started the new rules of the calligraphy. The Arabic calligraphy is different than any other languages or script. There is 4 shapes for every letter. If it's in the beginning of the word, if it's in the middle of the word, and if it's in the end of the word, and if it's alone. So there is 4 shapes for each letter. And the letters in the Arabic writing is connected. So this facility or this gives the calligrapher an option to make several shapes from the same word, because the letters are connected, so he can just increase or decrease the space between these letters because there is a line between them. It's simply like this. When we have this letter, you can simply connect this letter here if they are in the same word. The first thing they have developed was the paper. Arab people developed the paper, a handmade paper that we can say processed with an egg and alum. So this paper can be used several times. I mean, not several times, but if you have any mistakes, you can simply use a knife or cotton to clear what you have done wrong, and then simply you use a glass or this stone, and simply you can just to make it soft again. You can simply pass it to others to find the difference between the processed face and the unprocessed face. The second part is the pen. It's very simple pen. It's the pen that's been used maybe 10,000 years ago or maybe before. But they have a different cut for their pen. Usually in the English writing, they use this for italic only, right? For normal writing, they use the parallel one. This is a very simple you can just cut it as much as fine or small you want. From these small letters, you can develop your painting to have a complete drawing. These drawings are not exist in any other language. They do not have this art to just write or make a paint from just the letters without any meaning like this, just to show the similarity between this letter and this letter and this letter. It's the same letter in the beginning and in the middle, just to show this letter, this and this and this and this. It's the same letter in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. So there is no other language that give this flexibility to show a signature in this shape. This is the signature of all Ottoman sultans, and this is my son's signature. He's still 7 years, but he can simply have something like that. I've spent maybe 5 years learning this art without any helping, but I lost marks in my high school. I wish that everyone has his own hobby, his passion in any art or sport that can give all his power and energy in that. Thank you.
Where's that? It's on the papers.
All right, fellow Toastmasters, please take 2 minutes to evaluate the speaker. Timer. All right, fellow Toastmasters, up for our last prepared speech of the evening, I'll be introducing evaluator Dennis Comas to introduce your final speaker.
Thanks, Jeff.
You bet.
How about, yes, is how blockchain will solve the healthcare industry's problems.
Okay.
Yes, and
I'm looking at the book after.
Yes, I don't have a bio, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep, no problem.
I'm sorry.
So
Just,
tonight we will be having Mr. Ryan Prana Miller discuss how blockchain is really going to help us solve many of our problems and issues with our healthcare system. Ryan Prana Miller will be doing the Competent Communication Manual. Topic number 3, project 3, get to the point. He's going to get right to the point. He's going to be concise. He's going to stay focused. He's going to stay on the topic about how he's got a plan. He's going to talk about it.
that's right.
So we're going to review the speech. I look forward to hearing it. Everybody, give a warm welcome.
Mr. President. Greetings, Toastmasters, viewers at home. I could stand up here and tell you how I've made any amount of money with Bitcoin. I've given you a speech last week or a couple weeks ago about Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is. So, are we all familiar with what Bitcoin is? Okay. Bitcoin is a decentralized peer-to-peer system that is a payment system, and all the computers in the network are decentralized. It's kind of appropriate that I'm here in Cambridge talking about an investment, right? So the investment center of Fairfield that employs more people than any company, and I'm here to talk about investing. So investing in Bitcoin can make you bankrupt, or it could make you a lot of money, depending on what your strategy is, and if you're using credit cards or whatnot to fund your purchases. And surprisingly enough, credit card purchases have gone up 1% alone internationally, worldwide, just for Bitcoin this year. But that's kind of besides the point. What I want to talk about is that Bitcoin is one of many cryptocurrencies, and the blockchain is basically a system where you, like I said, decentralized, peer-to-peer, write once, read only. So does that make sense? Okay, write once, read only. If you have a Bible or a book, and you have a pen and you write in it, it's permanent, right? So you can read it as many times as you want, but it's permanent. And the blockchain is also permanent, and you can only write one entry and move on to another entry. So the great thing about that is that it's permanent, but you also need privacy with healthcare, right? Healthcare, if you are a patient and you have records of the number of heart attacks you've had, or the number of what your diabetes situation is, what your cholesterol is, what your blood pressure is. You need to know all these things, right? So the important thing about that is you want your records to be safe, private, and you want to give them to people like doctors when the doctors need to help you, right? So the great thing about the blockchain, there's a coin that is specifically designed for the blockchain, and you can have it's called medical coin, and basically it'll keep track of all of your IHRs. I'm not sure what that means, but I know it's a medical term. And IHRs are basically, it's like your patient records. So my argument to you tonight is, if you're willing to listen, blockchain isn't just about making money. It's not just about minting millionaires for the mansions. They're called like crypto mansions, and people are just partying all the time with millions of dollars that they just manifested. I think the blockchain is a system that like this write once, read only thing, right? So if you have your patient records and you go to a doctor, you send them a file, a cryptographic key, and they see the file, they decode it with your key, they have access to your records. They're like, okay, I can help you, And then you send it to another doctor, and so it's like, and then their records would tap into your network, and then just grows into a kind of like a profile, like it's a profile on you, So you learn about what you can. Doctors see your profile through your wallet address. So that's basically the idea of a blockchain healthcare system. And you've probably all heard about Warren Buffett and J.P. Morgan Chase CEO and Jeff Bezos, the three richest men in America. Basically, they want to create a system now that eliminates the middlemen, like Walgreens and all these other companies that are selling pharmaceutical drugs. They want to eliminate the middlemen, and they want to turn them into, they want to take their profits away from them so that they can fund their own companies, Warren Buffett. So, good man. He wants to take profits from somebody else and take them for himself. But he is saving his employees money. He's saving his employees' healthcare costs. So, it's reputable, it's a good idea, but I don't think that is the solution to the healthcare problems. He wants to have an open mind about healthcare. He wants to have a Zen perspective on healthcare, and he's trying to do that by creating a third-party system that he controls. But I don't think that's the solution. I think the solution is something like medical coin and using the blockchain. So. Have I lost anybody? I probably have. If I've lost somebody, I've done my job. The blockchain. So, yeah, I was going to go into like a metaphor, but that might foment some issues with people. It's going to drop some metaphors about the blockchain and how the blockchain is like a lemonade stand. Okay. You want to get your lemonade, so you go up and first you need to make a lemonade stand. And a lemonade stand offers a product, and you have to invest first in the stand, right? So, I'm sorry, the metaphor was not about the blockchain. The metaphor was about Warren Buffett's company. Okay, retrace my steps. So Warren Buffett's company, he wants to build a lemonade stand to sell cheaper lemonade, basically. So he's going to put a lot of money into the stand, and he's going to raise the prices over time. At first, the prices are cheap. Lemonade's cheap, I own it. I'm investing, and then 5 years from now, maybe his lemonade will be more expensive than Walgreens lemonade. So that's all I got. Will.
How is Warren Buffett looking to use the blockchain to actually remove the middleman?
No, he's not. I'm arguing that he should.
He should do that.
His system is that he's creating a healthcare company.
Okay.
He's creating a healthcare company that will, for his three companies. For Amazon, for J.P. Morgan Chase, and for Berkshire Hathaway. They employ 1 million people in America or more. So what he wants to do is all three of those CEOs are going to come together and hire the best minds in the industry and create a healthcare system for their companies.
Oh.
He has nothing to do with the blockchain at this point, but I'm just bringing him into the picture because I feel like he has a solution, but maybe his solution can incorporate the blockchain. And thank you.
I will now take 2 minutes to evaluate the speaker. Come back. And we are running several minutes behind, so we're going to move forward to the end of our meeting, the evaluation section, and wrap everything up and get a nice solid conclusion of this evening. So I will just ask the evaluators to keep that in mind, that we are running late. Anyway, without further ado, let's start our general...
Would have a point of order do we vote at this time?
Oh, are we supposed to...
And make sure that the timing is in order for the speakers.
Oh, wow, yeah, okay. Did all our speakers qualify?
Mr. Toastmaster, one speaker qualified.
Okay.
Ryan Pranamilla.
Wow.
All over.
Didn't expect that. Wow, what a surprise. All right. Thank you for that correction, Veda. But without further ado, please take over the meeting as the general evaluator.
I'll put it on the door.
No, that's true. For that one.
Technical difficulties. I will use the lectern now to stumble through the rest of the meeting. I'll be introducing the evaluators. The first evaluator the evaluator for Miranda is Fraser Jones. Evaluator for Miranda.
So I'll be following the manual in evaluating Miranda's speech, admirable silence. Was the speaker topic appropriate for this particular assignment? I would say yes, it was. Did the speaker use simple, short, and clear words? I would say yes. Did the speaker use vivid, descriptive words that created mental images? Yes, from the beginning. In talking about the people in an argument, you could just imagine it. One person making a lot of noise, being very vociferous, and the other silent. You could picture that, and she did that to me throughout her speech. Did the speaker use words that had more than one meaning or were inaccurate? Well, she did use words that had more than one meaning, but they were not really inaccurate, like spirit, which she used. That was a pretty good take, And Did the speaker use would the speaker sentence in short and simple and understandable? Yes. Did the speaker use rhetorical devices to enhance his or her ideas? Yes. Like she used certain allusions, like if your truth would kill someone, huh? I mean, what's the benefit of it, you know? Did the speaker avoid jargon and unnecessary words? I would say yes. Did the speaker use proper grammar and pronunciation? I would also say yes for that. And was the speech purpose clear? Well, from the title, it was clear. In admirable silence, that was clear. But actually, in the speech, she talked more on the other side than on the silence side, right? That's one thing I observed. Was the speech effectively organized? I would say yes. But, okay, I'll come back to that in the end. What could the speaker have done differently? Well, at the beginning, she talked about those two people. So at the end, I think she could have come back and tied it up and saying that, you know, that's how the admirable silence thing, the silent guy, right? And what did you like about the speaker speech? She was very emotional, expressive, and she gave a different take on some issues.
Thank you, Fraser. Moving along to our next evaluator. The evaluator for Hy-Vee on the topic of calligraphy is Will Burns. Will Burns?
Thank you, Veda.
For Hy-Vee.
Honored Toastmasters, guests, wherever you are tonight, viewers at home, but most especially Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee started off great. For each nation, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, for each nation there is an art behind them. And I learned tonight that there was Arab calligraphy. My suggestion right out of the gate, something that maybe could have been done differently is just a bridging comment. You know, for example, we have Chinese kung fu, we have Italian pasta, and we have Arabic calligraphy. Because at first you said that you were talking about Arab art, and I'm thinking like, oh, I knew the title of the speech, but I was thinking, what could the art be? You know, there's a number of, you know, there's a lot of Arab culture, so which aspect are you going to talk about? But I loved the visual aids that Hy-Vee used for the speech, and I'm going to commend him especially for using static ones. I really personally like using dynamic ones, like using PowerPoints, presentations, but whenever you're using anything with technology, it can often go wrong, and it can cause all kinds of issues. Hy-Vee had no issues with that. They were clear, easy to read, and they functioned just as expected. If I had a suggestion about them, perhaps just to maybe lean on them a little bit more. You had a beautiful visual aid of a number of the Arabic letters. Maybe I might have liked to if you'd pronounced a few of them to show how the markings change the pronunciation slightly in some of those letters. But I felt like I got a great sense, not only of the beauty of Arabic calligraphy, but also of the passion behind the speaker and why he pursued this. Hy-Vee does an amazing job of taking a topic, a large topic, and breaking it down into the constituent pieces, looking at it, breaking it apart without losing the beauty that is in those details, and allowing us to still see the big picture as well. So So with that, I'm looking forward to the next piece of the puzzle here from you, from the guy. Thank you, sir.
Our evaluator for Ryan was Dennis. Evaluator for Ryan.
Thank you, Beta. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, invisible guests that may have wandered away from Hy-Vee, and to viewers at home. And most importantly, to Mr. Prana.
Thank you.
Very well done. First of all, I'd like to start out with talking about how your opening was very strong there. That question really got the audience engaged. Everybody was thinking right away when you say, hey, how many of you thought about Bitcoin in the past? How many of you know about it? Well, right away it's getting people to naturally think, okay, I'm going to review in my mind what's going on. Do I understand this concept? Do I have the confidence to raise my hand? Yes or no? And it's a great way to kick it off. Also, I appreciate how you started toward the beginning of your speech. Still, you were saying how, well, I'm going to tie in cryptocurrency, and there's an irony of how we are right here nearby Cambridge, which is dealing with many issues in finance industry and the regulation of it, and more things I don't want to talk about because I'm rather ignorant of everything Cambridge does, so I won't go there. There are some improvements that I would recommend you making with your body language, and that's something that many of us can do, including myself at times, is one thing I noticed that you've done this speech and in the previous one sometimes is sometimes you'll take your hands, say, well, I'll put my paper here, but you'll go like this a little bit, and then look up over there, and then I think, okay, hey, the audience is right here, buddy. Look at us. So yeah, exactly. It's just emphasize that point of that's good. I like that sincerity that I can see you're definitely thinking about what you're saying. That's really good. However,
Presence.
show more attention, to the audience at certain points, even when you're thinking deeply about the subject. That's good. One thing I really like, though, is you pointed out a lot of interesting facts that right away just grasped my attention. Probably got all of us, and how Warren Buffett and you talk about Jeff Bezos. These are big shots, and how they're going to foment some real stir up some issues about how we're going to cut out the middleman, possibly, say Walgreens, while at the same time they're forming their own potential healthcare companies that may do a better job potentially, and that really excites everybody naturally. For some, of course, worrisome. For some, it's a positive thing. So it's all how you take it, and I like that point.
Good.
Another thing to talk about improvement-wise is stay more focused on just the main topic of blockchain, and throwing in some more points of how exactly you support. How is, say, Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett exactly supporting your point? Tie that in to make it a little bit more clear with your wording throughout your speech. So basically, to summarize what I thought about your speech, get to the point. You got to a lot of good points with really interesting points, but I would say get more to just one point and just throw more clear supporting details. Otherwise, excellent job. Well done, Prana. Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good to be the president.
Thank you, evaluators. We're going to take a moment, I believe, to vote for best evaluator. Is there a problem with the timing?
Of the evaluators, the ones who met the time limit were Jean Symington Craig, Will Burns, and Dennis Gomez.
Okay, so we will vote for one of those three people, and then whoever is in charge of collecting the votes will be Emery. Okay. So I'll be calling for the reports now. I call now to Peter Armstrong for the timer report.
Mr. General Evaluator, Okay, the times of tonight's speeches were as follows. Miranda, 7 minutes 48 seconds. Hudaifa, 7 minutes 52 seconds. And Prana, 7 minutes 12 seconds. Table topics. Will, 1 minute 43 seconds. Jean, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And Veda, 1 minute and 29 seconds. And the speech evaluators, Jean for table topics was 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Good job, Jean, squeaking in under the wire. Fraser, 3 minutes 37 seconds. Will, 2 minutes 39 seconds, and Dennis, 3 minutes 19. Thank you all.
The next report will be the grammarian's report from Jeff Shipley.
Thanks, Veda. It was a great meeting for grammar and rhetoric. Emery off the top was talking about fermenting chaos, and Will brought up with a lot of nice, lovely maxims and that nice sappy drippiness that we have for Valentine's Day. And then for Jean, I really liked her talking about love yourself first and everything falls into line. That was actually the quote, the Emery's quote that he was putting forth, which is so poetic in itself. But then you really brought that home and nailed home some really great use of language on loving yourself. I love being and loving myself, and the comparison to the oxygen mask was a really effective use of language as well. So really thought you did well. Our speakers did a great job with their rhetoric too. A lot of notable examples. You all heard about it, I don't need to go through them again. Word of the day, we had a few ones stirring about there. They all got used pretty regularly. Veda a couple times, Emery, Jean twice, Prana, and Dennis as well. I think there's probably some more. I wasn't really paying attention. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Now the question is, according to our timing, do we have time for a joke?
We got time for joke.
What time is it?
If it's a good joke. It's a short.
If it's a good joke.
We have a joke, and Peter will be giving our joke.
It's a 1
Peter.
minute, it's a 1 minute deal. That's what
You can always go over if you need to, though.
No.
Two very short jokes.
Would you
Are
like-
you ready, everybody? On
ready.
topic.
Ready.
All right. Why shouldn't you write with a broken pencil? It's just pointless.
Big laugh.
Why did the Clydesdale give the pony a drink of water?
Can't reach.
Because he was a little horse.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, we get a smile on our face due to that incredible set of jokes, which I had no idea they were coming. I will be giving my general evaluation for the meeting right now before I turn it back to Jeff.
I got that cranky after 9. Sorry about that.
Turns into a good
I'm being given 4 minutes, which I'll need every bit of. That's why I asked about the timing for the joke.
No. Yeah, the
Oh,
operator. You didn't
I'm
do
sorry, you're right. Hudaifa is a point of order. We do have an odd-counter evaluation that I had not gotten on here for some reason.
Yeah.
D.
Yeah, so, okay. Actually, the first 3 speakers did really great. Will and Jean had no ahs or ums and likes and all that stuff. Veda had a couple ahs. Regarding Miranda's speech, she Xeroxed quite a bit, but she talked more or less in stream of consciousness, right? As the way you were speaking. Hudaifa had 2 ahs, 1 a like, but I want to make a comment. I could see he was thinking a lot about what he was saying, right? So there was an awareness there of his, because English is not your first language, right? So there's a lot more thinking about how to, it's hard to promote, something that comes from a different culture into our culture here.
He does practice.
Huh?
He does practice.
He practices, yeah. He probably, anyway, that's off the top. And then Ryan had a couple ahs, and a like. and a number of false starts.
Okay, I'm going to promote the idea in this club that
Is it being timed?
I should be timed now.
You're being timed right now.
Yes.
This is your general evaluation.
Yes, it is. I would like to promote the idea in this club that the main purpose of the general evaluator during this portion is to evaluate the evaluators. However, I will be making some points about the meeting and other comments given the time that we have. First, I'd like to comment on Jean's evaluation. Jean is a polished evaluator. You can tell that years of being a Toastmaster has done the body good and the verbiage well. She comes across as very forthright, clear. She gives excellent attention to the subject, and she's thoughtful. She covered Will's content excellently, and she gave some a great suggestion. No, I'm sorry. She gave the table topics evaluation of Will a good suggestion. She gave me a great suggestion also. I found that being behind the lectern is sort of has some positives and negatives. I felt it didn't do her that well to be behind here, but we have a new setup in this room. My suggestion to her would be, especially for myself, to, instead of repeating what the person says, also look for more positive things they've done, even if just saying what they said seems the more obvious route. Because I did hear other evaluators, especially Will, do well with positive praise. Frazier had an excellent evaluation. He spoke warmly about his evaluatee, Miranda. He found great examples of what she did, and he was kind with his comments and suggestions. To improve, he could just be a little more concise with some of his comments. As far as Will's address to Hy-Vee, it was excellent, and he gave some suggestions right away, which is okay in this case, that Hy-Vee, normally you might wait, but Hy-Vee is now becoming almost an advanced speaker. He was able to integrate a lot of praise with several good suggestions, so it kind of balanced that heaviness of the suggestions with all the praise. I thought that was an excellent suggestion, way of doing suggestions. I think that Will tonight, both in the table topics and the evaluations, was a little bit off his game, possibly the room. I've set my bar very high for Will, and I noticed that he was a little nervous. It was a great surprise. So I guess just work on speaking in other environments to get your polish down. Finally, Dennis, who's our newest president ever, has also warmly and directly addressed Prana. He had excellent, great praise for Prana, and he also gave suggestions. He gave a lot of suggestions, but in this case, there was a lot of suggestions to give. I think that he could have improved his introduction to Prana by following the format that was followed in Hy-Vee's introduction of saying what Prana is interested in, rather than trying to flesh out what his speech was going to be about. Just a general comment about the nature of the introductions, and I'll wrap it up there, is that when we introduce a speech, we should focus on saying the name of the speaker and the name of the speech, and then repeating it, the name of the speaker, the name of the speech, just like in contests. So I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Jeff.
Bring it home, Jim.
Thanks, Veda. Wonderful insights. All right, it's been a long day. We're almost. Dan? Oh. Are we ready for our meeting awards?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, the first time I've been a Toastmasters member, I've seen this happen. Winning 2 ribbons for both Best Tables Topics and Best Evaluator, having to be the Table Topics Evaluator. Jean Symington Craig gets 2 ribbons.
Come on now.
Holy smokes! That has to be a history-making achievement. So it's a great honor. I present both these to you, and we just really thank you for. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted.
Workplace friendly hug.
Yeah, workplace friendly,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Toastmasters
have to
friendly.
be careful.
This, consent was already given.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
I saw it was notarized.
Don't be hugging people if they don't want it. But if you're a good person, they'll want it.
It'll show up on Facebook.
Exactly. That's all we gotta do, right? We're not.
We have to give out a ribbon
Oh.
for best.
Who is the speaker that qualified?
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, thank you.
Best speaker. Run it. Wow. That's amazing. Then we got how to say it from Miranda.
Say it.
You know how to say it. Then get to the point.
Thank you.
Prana. Again, real comfortable visual aids. Who died?
Yeah.
How to say it.
We gotta hang those up.
So a lot of ribbons, a lot of awards. A real great meeting. We made a lot of progress tonight. So I'm really proud of everyone. We're really looking forward to getting more, filling up that VP of Education calendar and seeing a lot more speeches in the coming weeks. And I turn the meeting over to the club president, Dennis Comas. Bring us on home.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you, everybody. I will try to wrap it up real quick here, since I know we are well past the time. So I appreciate all your patience. First of all, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the meeting, but please, again, for reiterating our DCP goals, be sure that you guys have your leadership manuals filled out for those of you who are role players. One other thing I would like to talk about, the main thing I need to talk about with you guys is we have decided as officers right before this meeting, we will be having our club contest on March 13th. Tuesday, March 13th, 7:30 p.m. at our usual spot, the Fairfield Hy-Vee Club Room. 7:30 p.m., March 13th. So write that down, stick it on your calendar, stick it on your forehead if you need it, write it on your wrist, whatever you need to do to remember. To remember that date. To follow up with that, we need role players. And we have a few comments first.
You just want to say what the contest is, what the
Yep.
competition is?
Sure. Yep, so we're going to be having our club contest, and we are going to be having what it was inspirational.
5 to 7 minutes.
5 to 7
each.
minutes, yep, and then table topics.
And you have to have completed 6 of the competent communicator projects.
Inspirational?
Compete. Yep.
Or international, how do you want to say
Yep.
Yep. So in order to compete,
it?
You
International
have to
inspiration.
be at least 6 of the competent communicators.
Okay.
that have been done.
yep, so for everybody, it's a clear rule. That's very good, Gene. 6 speeches. If you've done 6 speeches, you are eligible to compete.
I see.
So be
Is this
sure.
like a national thing or
This is
something?
13th?
Yeah, you can go all the way. Yep, you can go all the way. If you win the
I see.
club level, you go to area, division,
I see.
district,
I see.
and then from there on, sky's the
The moon.
limit, all the way.
Maybe next
You
week.
can win the whole world trophy.
Oh, I'm
Yep,
on
so it
it.
all starts March 13th.
I see.
Yep. So,
And tabletop.
New
World
life
trophy?
goal right there, world trophy.
there you go, world trophy.
I'm gonna do it Toastmasters.
We got it. So there you go. So inspirational and table topics. Those are the 2 areas that will be covered. We do need role players for this contest. So please speak with me after, or send me an email. That'll probably be even easier for me to organize. And send one. Feel free to send one to Emery, to Will, Gene, Well, anybody who is a past officer, or actually probably better to current officer, so
I'll take an email.
we may have to not include Jean in there. But anybody who is a current officer, Jean can be in it too, sure. So anybody who is a current officer
I'm lost.
and past officer, you can send an email too, so we can organize who wants to be a role player for the club contest. Do we have any volunteers in the meantime though, for people who want to be role players? We need, say, timers, assistant timers, all these standard roles. Yep. All right, so let's talk about. Well, first I saw Peter. You raised your hand, so let's have Peter.
eligible for a speech, so
Yeah.
I would be play a role.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe get a sense of who's giving a speech or table topics that way.
Can I go to table topic?
Okay, so we have Peter willing to do a role, and then Miranda
I'll do table
would like to do table topics, and
Anybody can be in table
Anybody
topics.
can do tabletop.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and we have a little time, I mean, we don't, since we're running late, we don't have to do it
Yeah.
right now.
yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
would
suppose-
volunteer for, also, I was gonna say, I volunteer to run it. like, do-
Yep. Okay, to be the chair.
Yeah, because I need it in my competent leadership.
Okay. Yep, that's great.
I mean, unless someone else wants to do it too.
Yeah, so competent leadership. One thing I want to make clear too is, so when you're doing table topics, you don't need the 6 speeches. That's only for inspirational speech, right? Okay, so great. So anybody can qualify for that. So even if you want to, also Peter.
Can you go to world leader with the table topic?
Yeah.
I'm on it.
My understanding.
Guys, I'm on
Yes,
this.
right? She can
I
go the
got
whole
this.
way.
District.
International.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, the table,
No.
the only one that goes beyond district is
inspirational?
the is the
Oh.
World
international
leader.
inspirational.
Oh,
Dang,
they have
next year, guys, next
Yeah.
year.
next year.
World
Okay.
They
Toastmasters.
haven't-
Well, you'll
I
get
would
some,
be
you'll
a
get some
world
practice.
toast-
I
You'll
could
get
be a
practice.
world
We're
toast.
international.
Yeah.
The club contest will be in the Hy-Vee room, the
Alright.
district contest.
Let's watch all
or
the World
area contest
Toastmasters.
will be in
No,
the Hy-Vee
no.
Club Room.
Oh, I see.
Practice
District will
speech
be
skills. Don't be like
probably, I
anyone
was
else.
Alright.
Cedar Rapids.
But Prana, did
This
you,
is
do you also want to
I'd like to
volunteer?
be
Yeah.
anything. I'll be a
Okay.
tabletop speaker.
He'll be there.
I'll be a judge.
Okay.
Voter ballot count.
Thank you to Dan
You gotta carry this on.
for having, wait,
Okay.
I could do tabletop.
So good.
Okay, sounds good. Is there anything else? Yep.
Check your current issue of Toastmaster magazine. Our club is mentioned. Rick Starr is quoted.
Holy smokes.
You got it there?
look at Will's got it.
Actually,
Will.
we like to. Will Burns. We'll need Will Burns to read
Yeah.
So, you know,
read an excerpt.
everybody can go home, it's a homework assignment.
Good.
We don't got it right now.
Gavel, hit the gavel.
Yeah, we gotta.
Not yet. Okay. Anything else? Is there any other business stuff? Nope. All right, get out of here.
Okay.
All right.